This is Men in Labor.
Heavy loader, load it up.
The first
Bulldozer.
Men in labor.
We're so successful in the podcast business.
Men in labor.
We're doing a lot.
I mean, we're doing a lot. I guess that's part of success. Even if the demand is artificial, I am creating an artificial demand for myself.
You always have.
Right. I'm always garnering attention for me. So then I thought,
What's best? Who laughs the most in your classes?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is Jeff Charlotte, and we've known each other since a very heated silent auction at an elementary school.
Two hyper Italians going after the same auction
back
package.
in '96-ish, maybe.
I think it was a gift.
No, it was later than that.
It was a gift certificate to a pizza place in town.
Yeah, it didn't matter. I knew you were going to win because you had a sweater tied around your neck, and I go, I can't beat a guy with a sweater tied around his neck. There's no way. His wife had a little tennis dress on. It was like this little kind of fraternity couple. What would you call it? More of the people with cash. What would you call the people with cash back in the day? We used to call them something. Yuppies.
Yeah.
Yuppies.
They were. He was on his way up. I could see that.
I had busted away from Ohio. He was still stuck in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Moved down here, and I had been here a couple years before him. So I became a yuppie.
You were a yuppie, and you had. I knew you were all like on that. If you look at a chart,
I was on a track.
You were on that upswing, and I was still coming hard down. It was like the 08 recession. I haven't hit bottom yet.
It was a $100 auction item, and we're going 5, 10, 15, 20, and it's the same Goomba over there doing it. And then I went 95, and there was a moment. There was a pause.
Right. I looked at Kelly, and I was
Let him
like,
have it. Let him have it.
I go, Kelly, do you know he's got like 9 other items? We've been on one thing. We just wanted this one item. This guy's got...
Bill Muth was the superintendent. Or no, the principal.
Yeah. Yeah, we had good people. But you, I didn't know you. And I don't think I knew you right after that either. Like, we didn't meet exactly after that. And then we ended up becoming pretty close with our kids.
Yep, with the girls.
We would rent hotels on Siesta Key Beach, a couple
Bring
of days,
our dogs.
4th of July.
Bring our dogs.
Back in the day, we partied pretty good. You'd always been in construction. I wasn't really involved in the construction school that I still have. I was still doing construction comedy.
I remember when you started the school, you busted away from the company you were with to begin with, and you had this model that you were basically putting comedy into this stuff we had to sit for 8 hours and listen to.
More comedy than anyone ever realized. They were like, can you insert some comedy? And I inserted so much that you couldn't tell where the construction part was.
It's like if you're going to go sit for 8 hours to get this continuing education, you got to have some humor, right?
Yeah, in Florida, let's explain it a little bit. We got to have a license.
Yep.
Which I came from a no license state.
It's still no license.
It's still no
in Ohio.
license. And down here, you have to have a license. It's not really a skill license. No. You don't have to have skill. You have to have a license.
You just have to know how to take a test.
You got to be a big man who can afford to bid on shit at silent auctions. That's if you are that kind of person who knows how to control the auction, you can control a job site. Because you're a GC.
Yep.
You're a GC.
Yep. Now I went to the University of Florida.
Have you touched a shovel?
About 12 years ago I did.
And just for fun?
And I got a couple blisters.
Did you actually
I play a lot of golf.
shovel?
I play a lot of golf and I fish a lot. And the blister started affecting my ability to swing the club.
See, this is a boss. This is a boss, right? This is the boss. It's a boss, right? I know a lot of bosses because of the school. You see all the bosses.
No. Carmen knows a lot of bosses because we came from near the same town in Ohio. We had Cleveland up to the north, Pittsburgh to the south, and they had a persuasion of people.
I thought you said another persuasive town in the middle called Youngstown.
No, there was a persuasion of people that used to turf over Youngstown because it was halfway in between. So Carmen and I grew up with the same upbringing, Italian contracting family.
The camera's here.
And
I know you're looking at. They can look at Donnie if you want.
You can.
No, we have some fond memories of our upbringing in Ohio, for sure.
I have trauma. I don't know. That's why I asked you. Have you ever touched a shovel? Because I was in that situation where the shovel it was giving me. I didn't have that at the time. The term was called trigger warnings. You see the shovel, and all of a sudden your back tensed up because you're like all day you're going to be with the shovel.
I have the best construction story. So my pops was a builder in Ohio, moved to Florida because back then in the 60s and 70s, Ohio had snow. They don't seem to have any snow anymore up there, but he couldn't make a living, so he moved to Florida and became a builder down here. I'm in high school. I came home late one night, like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I passed my father on the road. The reason I know it was my father, because he had a black lab that sat next to him, and I could see Zach in the truck. And I showed up at the job site at 7:30. I got home at 2, got up at 6, got to the job site at 7:30, and my dad put me with the cement finishing crew that day. Have you heard of come along? Do you know what a come along is?
You just mentioned it.
Yeah, come along
earlier
is something
we were out there
that
watching that.
You pick up the welded wire, the steel fabric in your concrete slab, and you lift it up, make sure it gets in the top third of the concrete.
Just to keep the rebar off the ground.
I was picking the rebar, the steel, up all day. That was, and then he put me on a tool that's called a jitterbug. These are terms that aren't used anymore because nobody.
Because he's from the 50s.
But a jitterbug used to pound the large aggregate down, and it would cause the milk, the cream, to come to the top, so you could finish the slab quicker and better.
Right.
But I'm 5'7" on a good day. The jitterbug is 5 foot, so gravity was not working in my favor. But anyway, I spent 8 hours.
And I'm assuming hungover.
Hungover. Yeah, lots of partying the night before. Let's just say I never went out the night before a pour ever again. The rest of the summer.
Because your father saw you, so he purposely put you on that task.
Yeah. Pops
to
was
hurt
about,
you. He wanted to hurt
Pops
you.
was about coaching moments.
And he hurt you even worse.
He was about mentoring and coaching moments.
But he hurt you even worse because that black lab, he was calling it son.
Zach.
He was calling it a son. That was look at my son's next to me.
So Zach,
and where the frig are
which
you,
was his
Jeff?
second son,
right?
Sits in the truck with the AC on, stealing the sardines out of the cement finishing crew's van. Zach loves sardines, man. I'm getting off track.
No. I'm thinking about this dog
though.
because is that dog your dog too? Because you're living with him.
I actually found the dog when I was in high school. It was in the middle of the road on the way out to the dump.
What year was this? Because I lost a black lab.
1978. And I brought the dog. I brought the dog to the trailer. The dog was 6 weeks old at the time.
Wow.
And it was in a box with 4 other puppies. And we rescued the one, took the rest to the Humane Society. But Zach wound up living on the bay, Lemon Bay, and became a sailor.
Or down here.
Yeah, I had a
Florida.
Hobie Cat in high school, so he
Florida
sailed with
about.
me.
Okay.
So Zach, I don't know if you know anything about labs, but when you jump in the water, they jump in after you.
Right.
And they put their jaw on the back of your neck thinking they got to rescue you.
Don't question my knowledge about labs. Okay.
I'm still trying to figure out if that's your lab or not.
No.
So you were down here in Florida because at first you confused me because you said something about Cleveland and snow. And then now you're working in construction in Florida with your father, who had left Ohio.
Right. I
You
moved here
skipped
when I
that
was
part.
10.
Why did he
Yeah.
leave, by the way? He had to pick up new work down here.
Yeah, he had to make a living. And back then, like I said, I mean, it pretty much snowed 6-7 months out of the year, and it was
Now,
hard.
he's French, right? Your dad?
No, he's Italian.
Charlotte.
Yeah, it was
sounds-
Chiletti. So here's the deal. Here's the
sounds
other
French,
story.
Donnie. What-
I want everybody
it
to
does.
hear this story.
Oh,
this,
no.
This,
It's
this
another
makes
one.
me
Hang
tear.
on. All right.
This makes me tear.
Let's set the timer, please.
So my grandfather's name was Setempio Chiletti. That's a great name. If you're Italian, is that not a great name? Setempio Chiletti.
Wow.
Ciarletti. Chiletti. He comes across to America from Rome, Italy, on a boat as a 10-year-old, 1921. Can you imagine sending your 10-year-old on a boat to come to Ellis Island? Yeah. In Ellis Island, they look at him and say, well, we don't know how to spell Chiletti. And they changed his name to Charlotte, and they sent him on a train up to Latonia, Ohio. Back in the 20s, Latonia was a big steel-making town outside of
Never heard of
Youngstown. Yeah, it was actually bigger than Youngstown back in the 20s. So anyway, my heritage on my dad's side is 100% Italian, but my mom is Scottish.
This Charlotte is an Italian name.
Chiletti was the original name.
Well, how did it become Charlotte?
They changed it at Ellis Island. They just changed his name to something they could spell.
So Chiletti, the C's hard, right? C-I-L.
Yeah, Chiletti.
E-T-T-I.
So
mine's supposed to be Churchill.
we just got back. My first trip to Italy. 64 years old, I finally got back to the homeland. My grandfather was from Campobasso, which is between Bari and Rome, halfway in between. And we're still trying to figure out if there's any Chiletti there, but it's hard when you don't have birth certificates.
Do you really want to know?
No. But I do want to go back to Italy.
We all hear that. Everyone
I do want to go
says
back
that.
to Italy.
Have you been?
Oh, that's the first time we just went. Yeah, we went to Salerno, and we went to Sorrento, Capri, Anna Capri, Rome, Florence.
Yeah, it's nice to go back, right? But I don't know if they want to see you. You don't want the new name.
Right.
You need to go, hey, I'm Charlotte. It used to be Chiletti. And they go,
yeah.
You're the rich guy, huh? Who made it, who left here, and now you want to come back and see it. Oh, we didn't do shit since you left. Did you bring us something? Something from maybe one of those silent auctions you bid on? Something.
He's been holding this in. I think this is personal.
Well, it is not. It's a great story because it was my first vision of Jeff.
No, Carmen and I immediately hit it off. We hit it off, and then he had every 2 years I go get my continuing education. I like to see
when I see him. There's never a beat missed. It's just like we had just seen.
Well, that's
each other.
kind of the way guys are, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't have to see you just to like you and hang out with you, right? Women, on the other
now,
hand.
it'd be nice if you had a small picture of me in your pocket that you could show everyone. Here's my buddy Carm. Haven't seen him in a while. So, so you never worked in Cleveland in construction?
Never worked Youngstown, but I never worked construction up there.
You never did it. How old were you? You said 10 when you left?
I was 10 when I left.
So you left. This is kind of, let's just tie it together. And there was a 10-year-old boy that left Campobasso in 1921. And there was a 10-year-old boy that left Youngstown in what year?
1971 we moved.
Down to Florida.
To Venice, Florida.
You're like groundbreaker. You came to Florida before anybody wanted to come here. You were here when it was there was Indians on the land. It was still an amazing time.
Blackburns is what we called them. The Blackburn family owned all of Venice.
The Blackburns, right. That's now the canal and now the park and the casino.
Who owns that property? Blackburn family.
So that at that time was a unique spot to be. And then you had to relearn, or your dad probably had to relearn, the business because it's different down here.
So my dad has a license number, certified general contracting license number in the state of Florida. 620 was the number. 000, whatever.
Right. And guys will tell me.
So he's under 1,000, one of the first 1,000 guys that got a license in 1974. They did that in the beginning,
and then they changed the order because I would get guys that tell me, that they got a license number. I go, I don't know if that means anything anymore, what that number means.
I don't know if it does anymore.
But 620 probably meant.
Yeah, 1975, it was.
600, there was an early license adopter.
This is a guy, again, this is a little story about my dad, but he quit school as an 8th grader.
Yeah.
Setempio, his father, my grandfather, was a bricklayer, brick mason. So my dad and his 2 brothers and my grandfather, their father, started building homes in Youngstown, Ohio.
He's married
and
still.
he quit
at this
school.
time to your mom, right? They're still married? School. Are they still married?
No, they were divorced right around the time we moved to Florida. Pops passed away in 2010.
So he lasted a while.
Yeah, he made it to 80.
I'm always interested in this because, we talk about construction and the families, but the dynamic of these families. Do these families stay together? Do they separate? Are they like every other family? What do the kids do afterwards? I hear a lot of the kids, like you, for example, right? You're not a guy with a shovel. You became a GC, a boss. It's kind of like what the mob used to say in The Godfather, right?
Right.
Don Corleone always wanted his sons to become legit.
Yeah,
right.
Legit.
Right. And become politicians because he knew the politicians
could save his
were legal thieves. Still want you to be a thief, but want you to do it legally. right? Now you get in and you change the law to suit us, right? I think that's where my father became a lawyer, because he thought that he could pull that shit early on.
No, it's funny you say that.
Because his dad was an asphalt guy.
My dad wanted me to go to get a degree in construction. And back then, University of Florida School of Building Construction, started in 1955, was the most established school. And I went to the University of Florida, got a degree in construction. But here's what the blue collar, what I did learn from Dad, and you probably remember this growing up, is I would smell coffee at 5 or 5:30 in the morning in the house. Back then, they used to make coffee. Now it's some espresso bullshit. I don't know you just stick a pot in something and.
Right,
but back then, they used to grind.
Oh,
you hear the grinder going, then
Yeah.
you would smell the ground beans,
Right.
and they make real coffee. And I remember him getting up every morning with a sense of purpose, going out and doing something, and then he would come home, and we were in a nice house, and everything was good. So I knew he instilled work ethic,
Like he had structure.
Like he didn't want me to be a brick mason or be a carpenter. He was a union
why
carpenter.
not, though?
Well, it's funny you say that, because I wish I had the vocation now. I wish I was a
But
carpenter.
why did he think?
He just thought
I
that
think
was
it was
a hard way of living.
Don't you think it was exterior pressure?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's like, nobody wants their kids to be a plumber, electrician.
He had a skill.
Right.
He could take care of it. If this man was by himself in the woods, he could build himself a structure and take care of himself.
And
That started getting looked down upon
Right.
in the 70s. You got to go to college, even 60s.
And now we have a generation of people who don't know how to do shit.
But now they're flipping it around.
Now, it's because for years we've been trying to tell the local young people that, look, you can make $100,000 in the vocations.
Yeah.
Or you could go to college and amass a $100,000 loan that they may
I
forgive.
agree with this, and then I started watching some YouTube videos on how to make digital businesses. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
How much is this guy making? He created an app with Grok. These guys today can make money, but I still believe that you should know how to do some hands-on shit, because you're going to own a house, right? You need to hang a fan. You need to hang a fixture. You're going to need to maybe change the washer in your sink. Something. Your dad was so capable, but the thing I was getting at is that your father wanted you to move up because he wanted you to get on his shoulders. He created whatever he created. Then he's like, I'm going to put my son, like I did, same thing, on my shoulders and my kids to see if they can see further than I did. And then they actually never see you again because you're below them and they're standing on you.
I know where it changed.
I'm like, get off me. I got you this. Now come on down. Get off me and give me some of that cash or take me out to dinner.
The work ethic, I got to tell this story because it's funny. So Pops gets to the end of battle with cancer, and he had a trach at the end of his life because he had bilateral paralysis in the vocal cords. So he was on a trach. Anyway, he had a severe episode, couldn't breathe. So we got him at a rehab hospital, and the orderly had to strap him in the bed at night because he thought he was back in the days of Golden Glove boxing. Do you remember that when you're growing up in Cleveland?
Yeah.
Golden Glove boxing based out of the YMCA's.
Yeah.
So Pops grew up with Boom Boom Mancini's dad, Ray Mancini, and did Golden Gloves boxing. And my dad had these big ham hock hands, and he's grabbing this orderly. He thinks he's in a boxing match in the middle of the night. So I come in the next morning to see my dad, and they got him wrapped up in all this stuff, and he's restrained. And I go, "What the hell's
That's
going on?"
how I want to go. I want to go. I'm a maniac at the end. I'm just fucking trying to kill people and run into it all naked. And I want all that on TikTok. Comedian keeps talking about a podcast he had in 2025. That's what I want to do.
Oh,
it's funny because these guys all, because of the construction industry, you're a monster. You have those hands. My cousins my oldest cousin is almost 65. He's still on his knees. He's still working
Imagine picking
hard.
up just a regular 8/8/16 cement block. Back then they were really 8/8/16. Now they're what?
How about culvert pipe? I mean, this kid was picking up. There'd be 5 guys on one side, 1 guy on the other, and that was Frankie. Frankie's still like that. He will die. He's a samurai. He wants to die at the job. He wants that story to be told.
He wants the smell of ammonia from cement.
He wants it all.
You were
know,
just
I love-
over there
I love
looking at
that.
the
I love
driveway
that.
port.
I just,
The smell of ammonia, it's
I-
unbelievable.
I walked over to this. They're pouring a driveway next door, and I just wanted to go and talk to the guy. He's from California, Mexican guy that's been here from Chico, California. Still broken English. The guy's been here 30 years. I would never let go of the accent either. If I could pull off the Italian.
He said, "Bookie."
You know who I am? I'm a Carmen Ciricillo. Yeah, we
Okay.
put a driveways. Yeah, I would try to keep it as long as I, because women love that shit. Comedy, it's ripe for comedy. Comedy, it's perfect to have an accent. Then you're some unique dude in the world. But this guy, and he doesn't want to talk
He's
to
authentic.
me. By the way, he didn't want to talk to me. I had to force myself onto this guy. I go, do you know who I am? All right.
I could really connect you.
Huh? I just want to know, why is there no rebar in the driveway? How come no one puts rebar in driveway, right? He goes, we don't do that. He goes, there's fiber, whatever they're doing.
I'll tell
Plus,
you,
he's
the
pouring,
rebar's a better way to go.
he's pouring 5.5 inches over there. It's not 4, so he's got a bigger. I'm like, I know you're gonna walk away from this job. Hopefully, it won't crack. But I just find it interesting to watch. That's my favorite part, is to watch the concrete come out of the truck, and then it drips down.
Oh, yeah.
Forms into and they're pulling that 2x4 across, and they know how to do it. It's an art.
Yeah, the screeding. It's
an art.
It's an art in that you don't rake too much of it, and then you got to go back and pour more in there. It's you got to keep moving it down the line.
This is why I'm a comedian.
Yeah, Bonnie, you'd be good at pouring concrete.
Because
Actually, the
I was
correct term
too.
is
I was
placing. You don't pour it, you place
Well,
it.
here's the thing. When you're a boss like you know the correct terms because you're yelling that shit.
Place
the
the
fuck? Why aren't you
concrete.
placing the concrete? I know what you're doing, right? From your new Jeep that you got with the air running and your polo shirt. But even Frankie, who's been in the business forever, he doesn't even know half the shit, the terms, right? Because he didn't go through that program. Like you said, your father wanted you to go to a college to get a degree in construction, which my son did too.
Yeah.
And I make fun of it because it is funny. Who the hell would think you need to go to college for construction?
Construction degree. Yeah.
But I see why, because it's so fucking hard. Try to do the blueprint. Try to look at those blueprints.
No, it's the construction manager is. I tell all my clients, we're 80% of the cost of your performa. The contractor that you hire on your project is 80%. Think about that for a second. Why wouldn't you want to have that person be telling you what it's going to
You
cost
got to have the right
early
guy.
on?
You got to have the right guy.
Yeah.
But you're missing out on the smoking.
You're missing out on the smoke.
Smoking, the Cocoa Puff, the camaraderie on the job, the beating
The
on
smell
each
of
other.
ammonia.
The porta potty pranks. You're missing all that. You got to know how to handle porta potty pranks if you're going to be on the job site. But, my son, he worked with you. He worked with a few other contractors.
Your son was the best intern. He was awesome.
I think he got a lot out of even just those few summers working in the field, because I wanted him to do it. We did it as, it wasn't even a thought. You're gonna do it.
Right.
When I was like, you're gonna do this. You have no choice.
Now they make you do it as part of the degree that he's
They
getting.
do. They changed that. They have to do it.
I think you have to have a certain amount of, I'm pretty sure you have to have a certain amount of internship hours now to graduate
But not
with the BCN
physical.
degree.
They don't have to do physical labor, do they?
No, they just have to have an internship. Yeah,
right. I'm
yeah,
talking about
yeah.
when your dad is
yeah.
seeing you drive home at 2 a.m.
Yeah. Oh.
You're going to work
that
with
was-
dad.
that
When you
was-
work with dad, I got fired.
Like I said, that was good coaching. That was a good coaching moment for Pops.
And my father, he wasn't around for a long time. In fact, he wasn't even really the guy. It was my uncle. Uncle Frank was he was the big man on campus for construction. Right? Uncle Frank never said shit to you. You worked for the guy. He never even hired you. You just showed up with my cousins. He would come up to the job. He had a Lincoln. He'd roll the window down. He'd look, he'd look at what's going on. He would never ask you to come over. He'd never talk to you, and then he would drive away. And then later on, Sunday dinner, you would find out, what the fuck were you guys doing dancing? We were building an aerobic studio, right? And me and my buddy put on the music, and we didn't know. Uncle Frank pulled up and was watching us the whole time dancing, right? And then he throws it in our face. And, I think he never gave us a consequence. What it was he just realized later on he wasn't going to pass the business on to us. His sons never got it. I never got it. We all thought we were going to be home builders.
His nephew got it then.
Nobody got it.
Oh, okay.
He lived long enough where he kind of just slowly stopped working because a lot of the gigs were coming from him. Everything we ever did, banks, hospitals, racquetball centers, drugstores, bowling alleys, all that stuff, right? And he was a guy that was a laugh guy that quit school in 8th grade.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
And I think he was so motivated. I'm not, I don't know, because I wish I could ask these questions now. I have so many questions for the dead.
Yeah.
I wish the dead would come back, not to do anything cool, just so I could grill the shit out of them.
Like, how did you do this with an 8th grade education?
And why did you do it?
Well, the why is easy because there was money to be made.
Yeah, but are you sure? Because I always think it's money too. Me and you think money.
No, they were making. Think about it. You're 14 years old and you're.
He didn't use any of that money. He bought horses.
Okay.
He had 12 horses at Thistledown.
Okay.
But he laid on a couch. And he didn't move. I said he could own a trailer, lay on a couch, and be happy with football and just gamble on that. He didn't.
Well,
he wasn't going to Europe. He wasn't donating money to. He's not on a board like you are. You're on a board, aren't you? Somewhere. Aren't you a board member somewhere?
Yes. Yeah, as my wife says, I'm on a board.
Right. He never did that, and he had probably the same 3-piece suit or a couple. Extravagance. When you are, and this guy was multi-millionaire. When you're that rich in 1975, he's building a white brick mansion in Pepper Pike, Ohio, 5,000 square feet. Maybe 10,000 with the basement. This thing is a beautiful mansion. He's got Cadillacs. Every one of his kids has got a brand new Riviera.
Was he hanging out at Bada Bing?
No, that's what I'm saying. He wasn't even blowing his money. He's still on the couch.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So what do you do? Why are you doing it?
Why are you doing it?
Why are you doing it?
I'll give you an answer. One of the whys is to me, a contractor is the best entrepreneur out there. We take on all the risk to build something, right? We hire these people called subcontractors, and we have to make sure they execute our work.
Right.
But it's their company, so there's an art to doing this.
You got to manage them and their company.
I think it's just the risk reward is sometimes not there, but most of the time there's a reward there, and there's always a reward to say, look, I built that building.
Oh yeah,
Go back 10 years, I built 100%.
That's absolute the pride in the work.
But it's more than money. To your point,
right? It's more than money.
It's more than money.
And by the way, I don't know if he was thinking he was going to be that rich. He just, because he was so good at being a contractor, the gigs kept coming.
Yeah, that's a great question. Why do we do it? Because it's, you got to put food on the table for the family you raise. But then there's a point when you make so much money.
Why?
It's like why I'm deciding to
I have this discussion with a lot of 50-year-olds.
Yeah,
50 to 60, my age group, I have this discussion all the time. And it's
When
not
is
even
enough?
it's not
Enough.
even about a lot of money either, right? Because a lot of comics, there's no money in comedy. But there's some point where and they did studies about this, once you reach, I think it's 70,000, I'm serious now, 70,000 a year. Did you ever see that study?
No.
Where they say the incremental happiness after $70,000.
I haven't seen
Like
this.
all your happiness is if you hit 70 and you can pay your bills and you got just enough to go out on the weekends and you just, you're making it. Whatever that number is, the amount of happiness achieved past the amount that you need is incremental. Like you won't increase your happiness more than a few percentage.
I think there's something to be said for that.
You might even take away from your happiness.
Well, there's more risk with making money. No question. Because if you're still in the game trying to build projects, you still run the risk of a hurricane.
So you're not doing it for money though. At that point,
Yeah.
you are because there's pride in that. You deserve
But
I
the last
deserve
thing you
X
do
amount.
Is build something and make no money. Trust me.
course.
You will remember.
No, I know that.
Yeah.
But I'm saying for you too, you have
Yeah.
this pride in this building
Sense of pride, sense of purpose.
and a reputation.
Again, it goes back to smelling the coffee in the morning, not wanting to sit on my ass in the house. Get out there and do
Absolutely.
something.
You have
And my
this
do something
sense
was
of duty.
construction. And
Let me give you an example I just thought of, and it's amazing that I can pull this stuff out of my head. It's just incredible. Sometimes I'll go to a show that is a free show. I'm doing a showcase. They're not even paying me, right? And I'm thinking that the whole time. Oh, it's just going to be.
Am I getting paid today to be here?
No, there's no money. But a showcase.
That's why Kelly cooks food.
If you think about a comic going to a show for no money, right? Is there less pressure on that guy because there's no money being paid? Well, you get there and you go, oh shit, all my comedian friends are here. The booker's still here. The audience, I got to still do my show. Money or no money,
Pride.
I have got to show
Pride.
what I do correctly. I can't slack off here.
Yeah.
I can't take the foot off the gas. So I think at some point, the luxury of being able, like you, right? You're in luxury mode. You got everything you need. Now you could choose what you want to do. Here's the hard part. What do you want at that point? And maybe you had that 10 years ago too.
I want time, freedom. I don't want to be tied to a business that has to keep making the client come in. Then we got to find the subs to do the work, and then we got to build the project. I'm at a stage in my life where
You did it.
yeah, enough
did a
is
lot of
enough.
that.
I want my time now.
So can you reflect back on before you were in construction and think of, there was something else that I would have liked to do?
Oh, but without question. Sports, anything to do with coaching. I wish I had known there was a career path to be a sports broadcaster, like a Bob Costas,
Yeah.
or, frankly, being the son of a contractor in Youngstown, Ohio, moved to Venice, Florida. There wasn't much exposure to that. It was just seeing construction. But if I had to do it all over again, I would be either a basketball coach, high school level, or some type of sports broadcasting if I was to do it all over again.
And see, I
But
think
at 64, 5'7", $180,
but it'd
nobody's
be amazing.
looking.
But it'd be amazing.
Nobody's looking.
It'd be amazing. It'd be the story of the year. He came out of nowhere. He's small. He's old. But they're undefeated. It'd be the biggest story you've ever heard.
The little engine that could.
Yeah, he just didn't quit. Would you blow all the money you've ever made to achieve a new goal?
No.
So security is more important.
Yeah, I like the security that
Would you take half of it?
I like what we've left for my sons now.
What would you give me to make your dreams come true?
No, there's no amount of money I'd risk to. I would like to pivot and do something different. I mean, construction I've satisfied myself in that career path. I'm ready to take on something different.
Well, this is where the traditions now come back, right? So you found this path. You were raised a certain way. You're still that person.
Right.
You've just been doing this one thing and you excelled at it. But when you were 10, 11, 12, 15, when I think about, being a kid and all the things I thought about I wanted to do, and okay, I found this one path. And I see a lot of guys who retire. They're not sure now. Or maybe they don't want to retire because they don't want to make that decision. But I think if you think back about who you were, right? What could I do that was me? That I still could do? And it doesn't have to be money-making things. And this is where a lot of guys kind of, I got to make more money still. They can't let go of that.
Right.
Could you become, you can still become a coach, but, is that the best use of your time? For you and your wife and your family?
Would say no.
Right.
I would say yes.
You still want to do it.
I'm a part of a local high school here in town that has a really good basketball coach. I've been helping him for 15 years, and
Is it about winning?
it's no fun to lose. Yeah,
So
winning.
you want to be on something that wins.
Yeah, it's much more fun when the kids are good and the kids are
If we
winning.
just dump a shitload of money into this podcast, I'm telling you, it's going to blow up.
What's a podcast, Carmen?
I feel like, the world of, I don't know if you consider yourself blue collar. Because you're
I
white
grew
collar.
up blue collar, so I'll always keep the roots of blue collar. Always been a single hitter my whole life. Never really tried to take my business and scale it to a point that was out of my control. That's just not me.
You were self-employed you've done that your entire life.
Really, since 1995, I've been self-employed. Prior to that, I was an employee for a construction company. Yeah, I worked
For how many years was that?
So I graduated Florida in 1983. So from 83 to 94, I was entry level, worked my way up to a senior project management level, building big projects. My first job out of college, 1984, I guess it was. I graduated December of 83. So January 84, I come to the home office in St. Pete. They hire you with a strict training, 90 days here in purchasing, 90 days here in estimating, 90 days here in scheduling. Okay? So you get to learn the whole company and what they do and their structure. The first week I'm there, they shipped me to Sebring, Florida from St. Pete. That's a 2-hour drive east in the middle of the state of Florida in 1984. And we built a $300 million nursing facility and congregate living facility.
Wow.
If you index $300 million to today's dollars, it's almost $1 billion project. So, I got just, baptized by fire. But they knew I had a construction background, father that was a contractor. Mm-hmm. Give it to Mikey, he'll eat it. And I went over there and, it was a lot of trial by error. It was a lot of figuring out. We all had to live on the campus. Couldn't commute to Orlando or Tampa.
No hotels.
We all stayed on the job site. We played
still small
Texas
to this
Hold'em
day.
poker. I learned what Texas Hold'em poker was in 1984.
This is almost like you working on the Hoover Dam.
I'm hanging out with the rebar crew. Orange rebar. One guy had just got out of the state penitentiary. His name was Monkey. Monkey, Leonard Coleman was his name. Monkey was his nickname. The Rodbusters, they called him back then. And they put post-tension cables and rebar in this tower as we went up. The best set of guys I've ever met in my life. I played Texas Hold'em poker with them probably once or twice a week. And, several $100 exchange hands. Leonard, I think, was in the state pen for like 15 years. He was the greatest guy. He was so great that we moved. We had a temporary office across the street from the job. We had a little tree that was in the way. And we were just going to take a piece of earthwork equipment and just move it. But Leonard said, put that in the back of my truck. At the time, I'm living in Orlando. This is a great story. You know where Sebring is. You go 27 north, you get on I-4. I leave 2 hours after Leonard did that Friday afternoon. I leave about 5 o'clock. He left at 3. I'm passing Leonard Coleman, Monkey Man, on the interstate. And he's got this big tree hanging out of the back of his truck. But see, those are memories that, there's no amount of school education.
I take the tree too. You know what trees cost?
I think it was some type of citrus tree. But, that made Monkey Man's, he was a good dude.
I've always been the scrap guy.
Yeah, we had a lot of scrap on that project.
My cousins had a 4-unit complex in Little Italy. And it was probably built in the 30s, 20s, right? And my uncle bought it. Probably $300,000 value in the 80s because it was 4 units, $75,000 each. Nice. But every doorknob was crystal. Every furnace plate was brass, right?
Yeah, that's good.
Every
salvage value.
Right? Now they're throwing it in a dumpster. These guys are... This is mid-'80s. They're driving brand new ribs that their father bought. Michael was probably on his third because every so often, I don't know why those ribs were attracted to telephone poles, but somehow, I don't know if that was a recall on those ribs, but he had 2 of them. He should have sued friggin' Buick over that. But ends up, I'm looking at it. Now, they have this beautiful, what Fiesta ware is?
Yeah, yeah.
So someone had left it, and he was about to toss it. Tray, pitcher, beautiful. Art Deco period. I said, Mike, just give it to me. I'm going to go up the street. There was a little antique shop. I bring it in. There, guy's like $300. I mean, and the antique guy's going to make $1,000. I said,
but
just
you made
that.
$300.
Yeah, I said, just that, Mike, $300. He goes, who gives a shit? And he threw the rest of it into the dumpster because they had so much. And that's their mentality to this day. They have so much. Now, they opened a wall, and my uncle, his uncle, who had owned the building before, had just shitloads of money.
A lot of cash.
A lot of coin collections money. Right? So I lived in Little Italy later on with my great uncle, and I would just knock on the walls and just see if any of those walls sounded full. Right? Because there was rumors that there was always money in the walls of Little Italy. And there probably is. But they just never, I was always the guy, I hate to throw anything away, And my Uncle Paul, who was my great uncle, we did a bowling alley, and we're tearing out, the floor of an alley. I don't even know what kind of wood that is. It's a hardwood.
Oh, it's hard. Yeah, I renovated a bowling alley into a pet resort up by the airport.
Yeah, and that wood is, I don't know, 10 inches.
Yeah.
Right? It's
thick.
It's thick. It's hard. You can't even carry a small section. They were throwing that in the dumpster. My uncle, my great uncle, he's got to be at that time, close to 80. He rented a semi. He dropped it off, and we had to put the wood in the semi. We saved every piece because he wouldn't let it go.
What did he wind up doing with it?
He threw it in the garbage. Because when he died, he still had it. They didn't want it, so they still tossed it no matter what. But the amount of money, just the reclamation now is such a big, salvage game is such a big thing right now.
Oh, it is.
If you want to do anything, little pieces of wrought iron, stupid money for this. And it's not even in Florida. See, Florida's market is so much different because Ohio, you can see that everywhere. It's still there. But down here, to try to find a rock down here for under $1.
Yeah.
Just a little rock, right? You buy a bag of rocks, it's $50. You can't find rocks in Florida. So that kind of stuff always, I will take everything on the job site. They were focused on the job. The beautiful job they did. Look, they renovated this old building, but you know what? I don't like that either. I don't like to see you destroy a building and then...
It's funny, the parallel in our lives, because so we first moved from Ohio to Florida. My dad got a job building an addition to the local hospital, 3rd and 4th floor, big national. Back in the 70s, late 60s, 70s, architectural design firms were the construction managers. There was no such thing as a general contractor construction manager. That flipped in the middle 70s. So he was hired by an architectural design firm out of Birmingham, Alabama to build the 3rd and 4th floor. He was the superintendent they hired. So my dad was doing this project, and across the street, they were going to tear down this old hotel called the Gondolier Hotel in Venice on the island. And they were bidding it out, and people were charging $100,000. And my dad said, I'll do it for $25,000.
Right.
Because he went in there and saw they had Pecky cypress in the ceilings. Pecky cypress is one of the rare hardwoods in Florida that never rots. So my dad, together with his son, who had learned a valuable lesson a few months before, and a couple of his football buddies,
using the come along,
we were the guys taking a 2x4, punching the Pecky cypress out of the ceiling, because you do it in a way where you don't want to have the finish nails damage the wood. But we salvaged all those ceilings, 20 hotel rooms, and I think he was paid $25,000 to demo the hotel. I think he made $100,000. And he had windows. Yeah. He had air conditioners that still worked.
Where'd he keep this?
He had people coming to the site picking it up.
Oh, so you're selling as he was going.
Yeah. And he kept a lot of it and repurposed one of his homes down in Englewood on Minnesota Key, repurposed that Pecky cypress into the house. But it goes back to that Depression era baby, the late 20s, early 30s, right. When they were born, they didn't throw shit away.
I was not even in the Depression. I was in the 70s with a situation where you better save everything. You better make sure you clean your tennis shoes because you're not getting new tennis shoes. If you have a hole in your pants, you had a hole in your pants. It wasn't. So I was. You probably weren't broke as a kid.
No. I'm sure there were ebbs and flows with my father's cash
in
flow.
Cleveland,
but I was
in
never
Youngstown,
broke.
did you live around kids that were broke, poor people?
No, I lived around kids that were much wealthier than our family.
You did.
To be honest with you, yeah.
And then what about your father's father?
Ooh.
Were they in Cleveland? Were they in Youngstown?
Well, he came as a 10-year-old, so that was
and he grew up in Youngstown.
In 1921, he came to.
Did you know him? Did you remember him? Did you go to his house?
Oh, I went to his house. Yeah, he passed away when I was 8 years old.
How was he doing?
He was a block mason at the end of his life. He died mixing mortar in the morning. Died that night in his sleep.
Was there an argument over his will?
No, there was nothing there. It was butkus.
See, I came from my mother's broke, right? And marries a guy that really fucks everything up, and then her mother came off the boat, right? So this is like in my family, my mother's side. I'm second generation Italian, right? So my grandma came directly from the boat. and she lived in a house.
Yeah, so you and I would be the same. It was just my grandfather instead of your
Except we were
grandmother.
poor.
Yeah, and we were poor.
Super poor.
Yeah.
Like, this is why I have that Depression era stuff, because when you're raised in a place where you don't have anything, you're living, I mean, but to get candy, just a little candy, Jeff.
Back when it was penny candy.
Just penny candy. I had to steal from my grandma's little change purse to go get a little piece of Tootsie Roll or something. And then you go up the hill, right? Because we lived below the hill, right? With the Grazianos. You go up the hill where the Ciricillos and the Regabutos and my other family, my uncle, who was in construction, lived. They had M&Ms, both kinds, peanut and plain, in a crystal bowl. And I would have to restrain myself
from grabbing the crystal bowl.
You ever seen Orphan, who hasn't had oatmeal in a while? One of those movies. And believe me, I had enough of those M&Ms where I got in trouble because my aunt would be like, enough. You had enough. And then I would hear the noise that just kicked on, that AC. Didn't know that noise down the hill. I didn't know what that noise was. AC. I'm like, what is that noise? That still triggers me. I still feel I'm rich just over the friggin' noise
How about when the furnace comes on?
We had a furnace.
Yeah.
We had a furnace that was a furnace. We had to have a furnace.
Yeah.
But registers were what you needed. You needed more than one register in the house. They had one friggin' register in my grandma's. Her shingles were asbestos.
Yep.
We lived in a fucking toxic dump. It was a place where
with no money.
No money. You live in a dump and no guidance. So, my story is a little different than yours, except for the construction part where, yes, I grew up in that family, in that environment, but I was an outsider. I was always watching everybody. I was like, that's where my money motivation came from.
Yeah.
That's why I say, what's the motivation for a guy who has money to continue to move forward? A lot of people in construction today, I think the guys today are making great money. Now, they'll argue with me about that. The
risk is still severe, though. On a good day, a general contractor, construction manager, doing commercial construction will net 3%. The bonding company tells you to net around 2.25 to 2.5. So think about that. You net 3% of your volume.
Yeah.
I mean, after paying taxes, bonoses, all
You're
that.
talking about commercial.
Net 3%.
What about a
residential is
guy?
going to be closer to 10, probably, I would say.
Now, residential, the reason is because the projects are smaller.
And there's
different customers.
More custom.
You think they're getting 10%?
The finish? There's more finishes in a house than there is.
You think a builder in Florida is only getting 10% on a house right now? I mean, we're at the bottom of this. I know this price war, but when you look at two different houses and they charge you an extra 30 G's for a different elevation, that's all profit.
Yeah.
Because you want the roof to look different than the neighbor's roof.
A lot of the home builders are developers too, so they own the lot inventory, so they make it on the land
and they
sale.
bought it a long time ago.
Right. Yeah, but I look on a
I'm
good
talking
day.
I'm not even talking about the bosses. I'm talking about guys, right? Guy that works for a plumbing company who's not a plumber, he's not licensed. He wants to be a plumber one day. He's not getting much. He's getting, I don't even know anymore. Are they getting 20, 24, something like that an hour?
I think most of them are getting 25. Excuse me. I think most of them are getting 20, probably $22 to $25 an hour.
Right.
For good subcontracting companies.
It's not a lot.
That's not a lot.
It's not a lot. Especially when, I've had my plumber here. And I'm like, how much? Because I was going to do it myself. And I'm like, nah, I'll just call my guy. Really? They changed the valve, the little ball valve, right? Or the
175.
How about 300? How about in the threes? If they got to change, that valve that comes out. Yeah, the valve that comes out from the tank.
The ball cock.
Yeah, whatever.
Think about that name, ball cock. Like, who came up with these plumbing terms?
Well, it was a much funner time.
I told Virginia, call the plumber. We got to change the ball cock assembly. She's like, what the hell are you talking about?
Right, I had no idea. But I'm looking at that going, this is good money, man. how much is this guy getting, you think, that's coming to my house? And I know there's overhead and the rest of it, and trucks and the rest of it, but I'm saying, like, it's a great business, but it's a better business if you have that goal of being self-employed. Mm-hmm. But how can we have everybody turn into self-employed?
I know who's going to do the work.
You can't have everybody.
Yeah.
That's a big discussion all the time. But if you did it in a way where you had the promise of self-employment, that's why America, I think, is I don't know if other countries allow this. Can you move up from plumber's apprentice to self-employed GC in other countries as easily? Is it a different tax? I don't know. All I know is that here you can do it.
Right.
So why not? Why not say, like, and even people that I know, my family, they don't want to. They don't want to be a boss. They don't want to keep the paperwork. They don't want to have anybody underneath them, anyone, employees, subs. They don't want to work with customers.
It's interesting you say that, because when I went on the journey a few years ago about looking to sell my company and identifying guys in my company that wanted that, not everybody that was employed by me wanted an ownership opportunity. No. And for me, I'm like,
away, right?
I was like, the moment I got hired out of college, I'm asking the company, how can I become an owner? Right. So it's just, I think things have changed.
Now, you think your wife was instrumental in any of this?
Well, so where I think it's instrumental is...
Now, don't get in trouble here, because this is just a podcast.
I think you have women making as much money as men nowadays.
Yeah.
So the thought that you have a family and the woman stays home raising the kids, which is what my wife did and your wife did, that doesn't happen. So guys aren't out there having to be the major breadwinner anymore.
But she pushed me. That's what I'm saying. My wife was like, you better make this freaking cash. If I'm staying home, we got to move up.
So what you're saying is you could have been a good stay-at-home dad, right? You could have made it.
I am. I don't know how I pulled it off, but one of my goals was to be efficient at making money, which means working as little as possible. That's what I thought comedy was going to be. Comedy turns out that's a lot harder than construction, by the way. But no, my wife got behind me.
There's a lot of comedy in construction.
She got behind me, and what I'm saying is, if I was by myself with no kids.
Oh, no.
Would I have worked this hard?
No.
And I tell the younger kids, I go, you know what you need? A baby. Yes, out of wedlock. And a baby that needs food, and it's crying, and it's shitting, and needs a diaper, because you're going to go, and maybe you won't. But that was like, I don't want my kids to suffer. I don't want them to suffer. That's, I think, was my number one motivation. Because I worked pretty hard at becoming a self-employed person. Now, I'm a dreamer.
Nothing wrong with that.
Right? I just heard the
When's
song
your
in my
birthday?
head.
When's your birthday?
I just heard Supertramp in my head.
What's your horoscope? When's your birthday?
It's Taurus. May
April.
2nd.
Oh, May 2nd. So you're at the end.
Yeah, so if you have any,
I
don't know if you want to give me something in advance, but it's May 2nd. I really, I guess the bull is Taurus, right? And that you think that's the aggressive guy, but I was a dreamer. No, I dreamt of
Taurus and
of being. I told this yesterday. I want to be on a mission from God. I want to be the Blues Brothers. All those movies that I was raised on was exactly. I didn't want to be a suit. When everyone talked about the suits.
Yep.
Right, or the Breakfast Club movie, right, with Emilio Estevez, and they're busting balls. That's all I ever wanted was to bust balls, and people are holding me down, Jeff. Insurance companies and politics and news and HOAs and there's no movies about that shit. And diet? I didn't know there was a diet restriction when I got older. I was happy with my Doritos and my diet, and not diet, real Coke.
Yeah. Now Doritos has got 75 red dye this
Why
and
do I
red.
got to hear about it? I just want to party.
I just want to eat Doritos.
I just want to party. And I partied in an organized manner. I partied as best as I could with the constraints upon me. And that's why I think. And is it this group of people, right? Is it just blue collar? I've not met a lot of white collar, straight white collar. So, is there such a thing as straight white collar? Blue collar is like blue collar coming from blue collar parents, right? So you still have that generation flow, right? White collar comes from the guy went to college, makes his son go to college. He has his son. You know, you become that line, that country club line. You know, where you're. Oh God, what's the movie with the guy? Who's the guy that looks good still and he's old? He's a little guy.
Rudd?
He's a little guy.
Not Pesci.
No, not Pesci. He doesn't look good. No, the little guy that everyone loves. The women still love this guy, right? He's a hot dude. He's from.
Mel. No.
Oh God, he's a stud, right? He's like 60-some years old, and the kid still looks good.
Carmen Ciricillo.
No. This guy's got all of his hair, everything. He's crazy. But he had a movie where he was in, like, he's a rich person in a movie. I can't think if he goes to a boys' school, you know, and he's hitting on the teachers and shit. It's a great movie. Anyway, so that line of person, right, where that other character in those movies, James Spade. Remember James Spade and Pretty in Pink? He was evil to the girl who was going to prom and the weird kid, Ducky. And, you know, those were the weirdos. I like being in the weird class. I like being the strange dude, right? And the weird music. And these guys were country club people. These were people that were raised strictly this way with their collars up. Remember the collars used to be up on the polo shirts? Mm-hmm. Right? They'd snap them up. I could never do that. First, I'm too little. It doesn't look right. I always looked like I was someone's little kid in college. I had to play me in college. I couldn't play frat boy. Just couldn't pull it off. I was in Animal House. That's where I was. And that's where I wanted life to go for me. I thought that's what life would be. Now, I didn't want to cause trouble. And I did want family. And I did want a wife. So can you have all that and still be the party boy? Can you still? There's no movie like that.
There's no movie like that.
There's no movie like that. So in construction, I felt like we were like that. We were always having a good time. The camaraderie was thick. You get up and you go with that crew to a job in the winter, and you're still
like
having
an episode
fun.
in The Hangover. It's you know.
Yeah, but you're working.
Yeah.
And by the way, you had to work too. Like you had to carry your weight on the job.
Right.
If you were to dick around on the job and someone else had to carry 6 more sheets of try because
I
you
use
wouldn't
my
do it.
Analogy: I get home at 2:00. I knew I had to be on the job at 7:30. Did I want to be there? No, but if I didn't,
But were you with a crew or just your dad in that lab?
I was the crew that day.
You were looking at that lab all day.
I thought I was going to look at the lab all day, but
Like
I became
fucking
the crew
dogs
that
in
day.
the car, drinking my Mountain Dew.
Eating sardines.
What? I want to get in the
You
car.
ever seen a black lab eat sardines?
Yeah, I've seen him eat a lot of stuff because we'd leave the bathroom door open. I'm like, oh shit.
Fucking ate like.
The crew though. For you, did you have a crew?
I was just there to observe. See, I was there to observe.
When I was with a crew is when you have your own crews now.
Well, we're construction managers, so we hire subcontractors who have their own crews. But yeah, we go on a job site and there's crews for the electrician.
You have a
the plumber.
gang, don't you have a gang? Your own people,
Yeah, my superintendent project manager is part of our gang. Yeah,
and you pay them. Mm-hmm. So you're the leader of that crew.
I'm a leader of that gang.
That's why I had a band when I was in high school. I just want to have a crew. I always want to have a crew. Donnie's part of the crew.
I'm realizing this as he's describing it. That he's just bringing in more people.
Our crew's getting massive. And it has nothing to do with making money or how successful the podcast is. It's about daily life enjoyment. Yeah. And that's what I did not realize. And during those days, I didn't question how much money I had. I didn't question if I was going to be able to afford a house. I didn't question if I could have better clothes or who anything was going to be in the future. My wife, my kid, all I cared about was I'm having a good time now, right now. I was so good, present moment, 85 through 89. So good. Because you're with a gang of people who thought the same.
Yeah. No, those were the years that were, you were making money and you didn't have anything to take care of but yourself, right?
You had whiskey, right?
Yeah, I love bourbon.
I don't know if I go past whiskey, but we had more than whiskey.
That's before bourbon became popular. You want to get on a little bourbon? You want to talk a little bourbon?
I have bourbon.
What's your favorite bourbon?
Well, see, I'm not good at this. Well, let me give you a little backstory about me. How much time have we done?
In about an hour.
Okay. So I always thought highest level of the whiskey family was Crown. Okay. Like, see how snobby that was? That was a snob laugh. That was like,
Well, I thought it was Jim Beam.
okay. So you're not snob laughing?
It used to be only Jim Beam, Jack Daniels,
I'm
Wild
talking
Turkey.
I'm talking about this age.
Yeah. No,
You're looking at a sad bourbon drinker.
Yeah.
Compared to you.
What do you like now? What's your favorite bourbon?
Hang on. I was going to give you the upstory to this. The whiskey that I thought was amazing was Crown. Dark Crown.
Canadian.
What's that called? Black Crown Royal Black.
Yeah, so it's Canadian blend.
I still drink it. I still would, but I don't anymore. I have a buddy that lives in Louisville. His neighbor is a lobbyist for the Kentucky bourbon industry. So I just fell into that. Like that for you or someone who loves bourbon, someone who like I got a guy that's
it's on my bucket
my
list.
work comp guy, Duke, right? He is a bourbon man. If he could have an opportunity to go in this guy's basement, like I didn't know what I was looking at. It's like a non-comic sitting with Louis C.K., Bill Burr, Nate Bargatze. He's sitting with all these comics, and who gives a shit? They're just people. I didn't know this was more than just whiskey. This was bourbon. He had everything, and he's giving me it all. I'm drinking the Pappy. I'm drinking the Blanton's. I'm drinking everything he had.
To this day, I've never had Pappy.
Yeah, he had all of it. And three deep on the shelf. So that's when it started for me. And now the best thing I probably have in my cupboard right now is some Old Forester or whatever.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
But like a special one and he just came from Louisville and brought me some shit.
Yeah, so my bucket list is to go to Buffalo Trace Distillery in Frankfurt.
Okay.
Because I like Eagle Rare, Blanton's, Buffalo Trace, Bullet.
When you say like,
Yeah.
how much do you like it? What's your liking ability?
Anytime I go out, I drink it.
How many?
Oh.
How many can you handle?
When I go from 2 to 3, now these are 2-ounce pours on a large cube, it's exponentially harder for me to travel. If I stay at 2, which is hard after a game.
At 2-ounce pours.
So I play golf on Wednesdays with a great group of guys.
Okay.
We'll go out, smoke cigars. I'll usually not drink on the course. I get finished, I have one. That tastes really, really good. And then the second one goes down. And then you go outside for a cigar. Well, you can't smoke a cigar and not. So it's that third one that sends me over the edge.
So 3 2-ounce pours?
Yeah, so it's
That's
really
6
ounces.
That's
a
heavy
lot.
duty.
That's a lot for.
And then how long does that buzz last?
Until the next morning.
Seriously?
No.
Because whiskey does catch up to you.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know that. I could drink vodka and it goes away pretty quick.
Extremely quick.
But
tequila's the same
whiskey-
way. Tequila, I've gotten to where I won't every week drink the bourbon because it stays with you
This is
longer. To your
Wednesdays.
point. Yeah, it's Wednesdays.
Now, Thursday, there's no bourbon?
No, I don't. I drink
Friday?
I drink maybe once or twice a week.
Right
Once
now.
during the week, once on the weekend. Yeah.
That's
But when I drink, I like to drink.
that's very limited.
Yeah, it's not every night.
Well,
yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not a wine drinker. I can't drink beer.
Oh, no wine.
I don't drink beer because it's, I don't know, just,
I tried to what they call the darty.
what's the darty?
It's the day party
Oh, I love it.
that the college kids
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
Right?
daytime.
So me and Kelly tried to do the darty one day in the pool. And I don't drink wine at all. And we made this, actually, I'm sure you know who he is. He's one of our architect friends was on Siesta. We went to his wedding and they had these special coolers, these wine coolers. And I made a few of these things. I was gone. Like I was sick. I wasn't fun.
No.
I like a little fun buzz, but this was like,
No,
I'll never drink wine again. So bourbon though, I like to have a drink of bourbon.
Now, do you drink it neat or do you drink it with a cube?
I'll do both. I've heard the neat is because you don't want to ice it down because you drink it too fast. That's what I heard.
I can't drink neat though. It's just, it's too, I gotta have.
I need
gotta be
situations though, Jeff. I need situations. I need it to be bigger than just drinking. I need something else. I need a pool table. Right.
Or cigar? Do you smoke cigars?
I'll do it as a look.
Oh, you don't like smoking.
But I'll pull it off. Look at behind. No, it's over there. That's me and Little Italy smoking a cigar next to my little baby picture. If I'm in a crowd of Italians and I go to a cigar shop, yeah, I'll do it, and then I'll pay for it later. Like, don't challenge me on a weight press bench. I will put up 250 and then go home, and then
Won't be able to lift your arms.
I won't be able to get up. I'm good at show. When it comes to show, I'm a problem. But the bourbon thing is, I think that's amazing that you're only drinking once a week.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I drink once on the weekend, so twice a week. Here's the other thing that Pops taught me. Do not put mixers in your alcohol. That's what gives you the headache. There's already enough sugar in alcohol, bourbon, vodka, tequila. So I've always had my liquor just on ice with maybe like an orange wedge in tequila or lime or something like that. Bourbon just with an ice cube. But I'm telling you, asked me what's my limit. My limit is clearly the second to the third, which would be the 4th ounce to the 6th ounce.
Yeah.
That's
how can we build up that tolerance? By drinking more? If we got you up to 3 times a week.
I don't like the way I feel the next day sometimes.
Oh, so this is not working out. Have you done gummies?
I haven't done gummies. I haven't done gummies.
The Total Wine, right? I'll go to Total
Sells
Wine.
gummies?
No, but believe me, I'm sure they will.
Yeah. It's
Well, as soon as it's legal in Florida.
it's almost passed, right?
all
67.
these- I'm surprised it got shot down.
It's
Just last year they voted for
our
it.
boys at Morgan & Morgan, he'll get it by the second time. I'm not a fan of it, but whatever. It's out there. It's gonna.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't abuse it, just like anything else, right? I think I know that weed in general is a demotivational thing, and booze, I guess, is also. But it's harder to get drunk, I think, than it is.
It's just
it's
like
so easy to get high.
My wife's father said, everything in moderation, including moderation. In other words, sometimes you just got to do a shot of tequila.
Oh, okay. So you do get excessive. So everything in moderation except moderation.
Including moderation.
Including
I mean,
moderation. It's a lot here.
Don't be
moderation,
moderate all the time.
Moderation
Sometimes
divided.
you gotta let your hair down.
I think moderation divided by moderation is
Equals
just one. It's one. Anything divided by itself, it's still moderation. It's a weird.
Everything in
formula.
moderation, including moderation.
Now they used to drink on
So
the
don't
job.
be moderate
by the
all
way.
the time.
Remember
Sometimes
that?
you got to just.
Did you ever have a beer on the job?
No.
We used to drink on. Not really on the job, but after they used to have beer.
I've seen cement finishers after they're done with a pour and they're just hanging around the job have a beer.
Yeah.
But not during the course of the workday. No.
No. We had
And
one
I'm
guy.
not picking on cement finishers, guys. I'm just saying those were the guys that I saw observed.
Is it typically one trade? Can we really say that electricians don't want to sweep?
Yeah,
Is that true?
I can truly say that.
Is it really stereotypes?
Well, I can't get them to commit to 10% of the dust on the job.
That painters truly
We didn't track that in there.
Right, there was in there.
Who's we? You?
Our gang of electricians.
We didn't track the dirt in here. What the hell does that mean? What, she fly in here?
Their pronouns are different.
So, no, we have a very efficient way of back charging our subcontractors on a weekly basis to handle cleanup, because one of the things you can't tolerate on a job site is not being clean.
Sure.
So what's happened over the years is everybody just contributes, right? They put one man from every crew and they form a cleanup crew on a Friday. From noon on, they just clean the job site. You come back Monday morning, it's fresh and
Each
clean.
trade takes one guy?
Yeah,
It's like the UN?
It's an embarrassment to get a back charge now in our company. So I mean, the subs have learned.
What's it going to cost me if I make a mess? The weekly charge?
Yeah, you're just gonna contribute a man each week to the crew, and then one of our superintendents will manage that cleanup crew, and they're gonna learn how to use a broom and a dustpan.
Strict. It sounds like my dad. It's very scary.
Well, it's either that or you bring in unskilled people, a labor
Punch
force,
out guy, maybe?
and you clean up the site, and you back charge everybody. But to me, we're all contributing to the same thing out there, right? Like,
Sure.
you walked in here just like the other guy.
And this is after
This is each week of the job.
Because you have to have the OSHA regulation.
We got a job at a country club.
You're doing housekeeping.
Yeah, housekeeping every week. We do it on a once-a-week basis.
You don't want anyone to step on a nail, trip, fall in a hole, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So the electricians actually participate?
Yeah. Yeah, our electricians that work for us have learned to just supply
Clean.
a cleanup
sweep.
guy once a week as part of a crew.
That's the biggest stereotype
Yeah.
that you hear. Because they believe
They're
they're
beneath-
a little better than the other subs.
They're beneath doing that. Yep.
You know, I never had a problem with any. Here's what I had a problem with was I didn't want to work in front of what Harry Potter calls the Muggles. You know what the Muggles are? Muggles are not the people that have the special powers, right? Muggles are your ordinary citizens. So I never liked performing in front of, you know, the guy that owns the place and his daughter and his, you know, they're coming, the people that, the customers that come and watch. Like I was working, I felt like there's something in me that I didn't want to work in front of those people. What is it, Jeff? What could it be? It's some type of, yeah, but what is it? What was it?
Some type of phobia? Fearophobia?
I didn't want them to see me laboring.
Yeah, you didn't.
Is that weird?
Yeah. Well, it's the label attached to our industry, if we're talking about construction for a second, is that it's blue collar, right? Like we started the show talking about.
Whose show is
blue
it?
collar now makes
It's kind of
money.
like your show now. Go ahead.
But
Because
now,
can we call this the Jeff Charlotte podcast? Because all of a sudden I feel like he's taking over. Okay.
This is how he gets you. This is how he gets you every time.
Now he's been with me for a while. He's been with me. So yes, all bills now directed towards Charlotte Construction.
Income to
What is the
Carmen
name of the business?
expenses.
Charlotte.
J.E. Charlotte Construction.
I should know by now.
J.E. Charlotte Construction.
All right, so
JEC.
go ahead. What are you saying now? You're blue collar.
No, I think the label attached to our industry, whether it's a contractor, plumber, electrician, carpenter, is that you didn't need education to get to that point. That's being turned around by the money that's being made has now turned people's thought process in that
shoving it
maybe
in
we
everyone's-
shouldn't waste money on a college education that doesn't get me a job. And maybe I
Now
should
the
go-
blue collar people are making it rain in front of the white collar people.
It's
For a lot less effort.
yeah.
So you're saying the electricians, the reason that they thought they were better than everybody else is because they had to have some education for what they do. They're highly. Do you think an electrician is more highly educated than a painter? Yes. I painted. That was the easiest
They
thing.
smoke less weed too.
Painters, today now I don't know what they do. I mean, and I wasn't a drinker either on the job. Believe me, I couldn't. I couldn't. I can't even still to this day. Like even if I drink whiskey, 3 a.m, I wake up
I got a painter story for
and
you.
I start painting.
Circa 1971.
Whoa.
Uncle Jimmy Powell, my dad's sister's husband, was a painter in Youngstown, Ohio. And back then, they used to do these things called Boilermakers. You know what a Boilermaker is? You take a shot of whiskey. Back then, it was Jim Beam, and chase it with your favorite beer, which was Stroh's or something.
POC. something that. How about Iron City beer?
Yeah. And he'd come home, and his way of tuning out Aunt Rosemary was to take 3 shots of whiskey and 3 beers, and go to sleep and get up the next day and do
Right.
it all over again.
Right. Well, that's what my grandma. I think I used to come back to Cleveland when I started doing stand up, and she would be like, she'd bring me into the driveway, away from everyone, and she'd say, "Carmen, I pray every day that you one day will find a job." I go, "I have a job." I go, just because I don't come home and have to and drink 7 beers to forget about what I did, it's still hard, Graham. I'm still working, but she never felt that was work.
Interesting.
She knew work was. Grandpa was working for Cleveland as an asphalt guy, right? Working on the streets. Uncle Frank, I mean, you could basically say after a certain amount of time, he didn't do anything. He wore a white button-down shirt with a white
Drove his
t-shirt
Lincoln.
underneath, and he drove his Lincoln, and he looked at his horses, and he was killing it. Everybody else, to this day, come back on Sunday dinners. I was just up there, right? My cousins show up, and they got the paint, they got the drywall on their pants. They're a mess. They don't even clean up.
They're still working.
They're still in the hole, still doing it. But this is what they want. Like if you ask them, Frankie does not want to work. This is what he wants to do. Frankie wants to swing a hammer. That's what he wants. He loves it. And he's good at it. And he has so much pride over it. If he builds you a shelf, a simple shelf, he'll go, I can hang on that shelf.
That's like your was it your cousin, nephew, Mikey? What was it? Your
Michael and Frank, both of them. Yeah, Mike and Frank. They're brothers.
Yeah.
We all work together. That was, where there was a lot of difficulty because they didn't get along that well. But Mike mostly and me and about 3 other guys used to work together without Frankie. And we did a lot of stuff. And then we did a lot of stuff at night together. There was a
It is
good
crazy
period.
though to think like, why do they want to still do that menial labor? Like how?
Because he knows how to do it. Like he's good at it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just at a point where I want to pivot and do something else, and it could be.
He's amazing at sports.
Yeah.
He could have been a great coach, if you wanted to. It's so ingrained in the family. He wouldn't even talk about it. Like I don't think I could have a discussion on why are you doing this.
I think it'd be a great podcast.
He wouldn't tell me that. He would never tell me. We're very good. My family's very good
Hiding.
at not speaking about things.
Yeah, well, that's
Always.
That's the essence of our upbringing. Everything's suppressed. 'Cause
You
if
never
bring
talk
it up to
about
the
it.
surface. You got to deal with it, right?
That plus
There's
a
a
lot
level of denial.
Well, there's a lot of it that you don't want to become a material witness either about. If you're on the phone, I was told, don't say shit on the phone. Make it short. And that's not a joke. This was going on up there.
No, it's we.
To this day, I have no idea. I don't think there's anything happening now.
No,
But in the 80s,
in the early 70s when we left from Ohio to Florida. I mean, like I said, we opened up the conversation today. There was turf wars between Pittsburgh and Cleveland over Youngstown.
oh yeah.
I mean, my dad's office was a block away from a bombing. There's a really good book out in Youngstown. It's chronological order of the start of the mafia in Youngstown and to the end. And it starts in...
Well, Cleveland was Bomb City, USA.
Yeah.
That was 300 bombs,
I hate that,
1977,
I
I
hate that
think.
the Italian culture is labeled with that, though. Because if you go to Italy, and you guys have been to Italy, you don't... It's just a great diversity to that country and people, and
Sure.
it's I don't know. I just
Sure, I know that's what you're supposed to say. I saw a sign in Venice, Italy. It said mafia and it had a line through it, like no mafia, right? I'm like, Who?
yeah.
Are you telling me you're protesting against the mafia? You think the mafia gives a shit about your sign? There's no way. This is a group that doesn't do that. Unless there's millennial mafia. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But that organization still exists somewhere in some form, whether it's Italian, whether it's always. Everything still exists in some form. The thing is that when you grow up around in that era of what all the news was in the 80s, for me, it's all I ever read. And I thank God, by the way, I was in Iowa too. We haven't brought that up. I went back to Iowa for a long time. I was sent away. That was kind of like, I don't know if there was a divine intervention in 1978 that I ended up in Iowa for 7 years away from it. So when I came back, my formative years from the age of about 15 to 22-ish, I had missed all of the action. I'd missed all of the training on how to be a little mafioso. I didn't learn it. Like, I didn't have a gold chain anymore. I didn't have any cowboy boots. I didn't have any Sedgefield jeans or silk shirts. I had given all that up for flannel and T-shirts and work boots.
Did you have buka beads?
I did have them, but I think that was pre-Iowa.
Yeah.
That was pre-Iowa. Because when I went to Iowa, it seriously became basic stuff. Like, all my friends were close to this farm area in the Quad Cities. So I was meeting farmers.
I'll never forget when I met you and you told me you went to school at Iowa. And I'm like, how do you go from Cleveland to Iowa?
Did you ever see Steve Martin, My Blue Heaven? But that's where I ended up. But it was so interesting because I was an anomaly in Iowa and I was an anomaly in Cleveland. Right? Because I had this Iowa experience and I had this Cleveland experience, and I would use it to my advantage in each area. I'm a 5'6".
Yeah.
I had black hair, short, little Italian kid with 6'3", blonde, big dudes who some of their families had cornfields, pig farms. Some of them, one of them was a block mason. A lot of them worked for Caterpillar. It was a varied group of people. The internet wasn't there. Cable just was beginning. This was a brand new culture for me to escape to. I could do whatever I want, be whoever I wanted to be again, right? And they had heard about Italian people, right? They had seen the That's Italian commercials. What was that sauce that everybody was eating out of the jar at that time? Ragu. And they saw Laverne and Shirley, the Carmine characters. So immediately you get stereotyped. Immediately.
And then you had the Godfather that came out, movie.
It's weird because that movie never affected me until way later. I didn't even pay attention to it when I was young. It came out. Never even. I remember my grandfather had a rubber bullet magnet on his refrigerator that said, "Make him an offer he can't refuse." And I had no idea what that was because I didn't watch the movie. I was in present moment Carmen. I was living a great life.
Yeah.
It was later on where I had to start watching those things to train myself to be Italian again.
And now it all
I had to go back through training.
Clear why they moved me to Iowa.
I had to go back through some type of training to refit in. And by that time, they were like, "We don't wear the gold chain no more." It's kind of like going back to Cleveland and thinking that you could put on the Brian Sipe jersey. Yeah. He hasn't been the quarterback for the Browns forever, or the Kosar jersey, right? Your era passed you up.
I still see that Mike Davis intercepting that pass in the end zone.
Was that the Broncos game?
Mistake on the lake. That was the Raiders.
Oh, okay.
Remember, there was, I don't know, Cockcroft was going to kick a 37-yard field goal into the open end of the stadium. Remember, Municipal Stadium had an open end.
Yeah, I was there.
Into the lake. Wind's coming in, and they're lined up for a 37-yard field goal. They call timeout, and they decide to go for it. And Sipe threw that floater. The wind grabbed it, and Mike Davis.
I don't remember that game so much. That's got to be pre-Broncos panic when the Broncos took away.
That was a couple. Yeah, that was Ernest Biner's
was it 80s?
fumble with Broncos.
The Broncos was the Biner's stuff.
Yeah, and then Elway had the drive, 99-yard drive.
Those were the years where we thought we really did
Super Bowl.
We thought Super Bowl, and we were getting the Cleveland Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was being built, and shit was looking good.
Have you been up? Or you're there now? You bought a place back up there again.
Yeah.
I'm hearing they're thinking about moving the stadium out of there.
It's not good.
It's crazy.
Man. It's not good. But if they win, I thought about this the other day. Will they complain if they move them to Brook Park and they win a Super Bowl? Will they complain?
No, they won't complain.
And the stadium, by the way, is beautiful. The rendition of it, the rendering, holy smokes!
But it's gonna cause blight in downtown again.
They of course need to do something with that, right? The management of the city of Cleveland,
I guess the Cavs arena will stay down there, but
and that's getting old.
Baseball stadium will stay down there.
Where that baseball stadium was is where I started comedy, the Cleveland Comedy Club. They took it away. It was a little shoebox comedy club, one of 10 comedy clubs in the country at that time, and it's gone. And they don't even talk.
They're not even talking about bringing it back.
They don't. The name Cleveland Comedy Club doesn't even exist in Cleveland, which I can't believe. The legacy of comedy means nothing to the people of Cleveland. Thank you, everyone. Drew Carey was there. He should do something, actually. He's got a big enough name. He could bring back a club.
Send him a note.
He doesn't want to talk to me. Drew, do you? Drew. Jeff's got to go pretty soon, yes.
No, leave me do a line from one of your shows.
Do a line?
Yeah, just one of your sticks.
That's weird.
Tell a joke for me, funny man.
Like one of my newest lines. One of my newest bits.
I haven't seen you live in a while.
Is that be construction related?
Anything. Like when you go back to Cleveland, are you playing shows up there?
Yeah, I'm doing one big show called the Paisano.
Where at? We're
doing it in an Italian American Brotherhood Association venue. They do the biggest bocce ball tournaments in the world, I think is what the guy told me. They have like 20,000 people that show up every August. And we've been doing a show with them. And I've been...
Indoor, outdoor?
It's like a wedding hall. It holds about 250.
Yeah.
So we just did it. Came back.
So you have other comedians?
I bring in a group of another gang. Have some other gangs.
Like Tim and
I always
those
have
guys,
gangs. Tim's in a separate gang now.
Okay.
My buddy Tim doesn't do comedy no more. He won't do stand-up no more.
Oh, well, that's...
He's in a new gang. He's in an Orlando gang, which I've been trying to assimilate him into the podcast, bring him back. I just talked to him. By the way, he said hello.
He's just freaky.
He's a funny guy. He's a funny fucking guy. And I said to him, are you getting more enjoyment out of making people laugh personally versus an audience? Like interpersonal laughter for him, he can pull it off. He's really good at making people laugh one-on-one. The crowd is typically what I like. I have a crowd, make them laugh.
Yeah.
But he's like that in everyday situations. So he gets his fulfillment from that. And he doesn't want to do, he goes, I don't want to be anyone's party clown anymore. You know what I mean? Because that's kind of what it turns into. I get these calls, hey man, we got a gig for you. Again, it's at someone's house.
You're not doing it for the money.
Yeah, but I don't want to do that. I did a couple house parties when I had to. House parties are difficult. In Cleveland in '88, I had to sing Engelbert Humperdinck After the Lovin' because that was what they requested as one of the things I had to do. Yeah. And I was working for a company called Sweet Revenge. So it was like a prank company, and they would hire you out. And this is what comics get. If you don't have a gig, you have 3 gigs a week. Okay, so you got 3 hours of your 40-hour work week covered. What am I going to do for 37 hours? Well, I would do construction. I would do Sweet Revenge. I would sell shit. Whatever you could do to make money. So the gig was you go to this house. Kelly was my girlfriend at the time. I had known her for a year.
She's still your girlfriend.
She's still my girlfriend. I had to buy the 45 After the Lovin', Engelbert Humperdinck, because I never heard the song.
Shit. I'm trying to think. I used to know Tom Jones.
After the lovin', I'll be the one with you. Right? It's a very kind of it's a love song. I'm 25.
You're singing to 70-year-old people.
I got to sing to this woman in front of everybody in her family. She's got, the country couch, one of those old school, a lot of dust, west side of Cleveland. They won't let Kelly in the room. She's sitting in the kitchen at some Formica table waiting for me to get done with the song. She's been a champ my whole life. You know that, right?
Oh, yeah.
So she's like helping me learn the song. And I'd sing the song. And it was pretty good. It was not bad. No one threw their underwear at me. I was expecting just one pair. And ends up they stiffed me to 50. $50 is what I was going to get paid. And they couldn't even pay it. They stiffed me on that. So I never want to do a house party again. Ever. Because they got you trapped. I'm also very fearful. As a comic, comics can get murdered so easily. If someone said, we got a gig for you, give me the address.
Right.
We show up. And then you go, why am I in the basement of a Pentecostal church in the middle of Florida
with a bunch of bodies,
with a bunch of dudes with shotguns? How did this end up? Because you're not supposed to say no to gigs. So yeah, that's probably why we talked about this for a long time, me and Tim, is that the business, as you age, you have to figure out, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do with yourself? We went back to Cleveland, and I was doing a little bit of construction with my cousins. Went back just to feel it again, just to be with them again.
What did it feel like?
Felt good because that's what they know best, and that's their best conversations. Mm-hmm. And you go to their house on a Sunday, and Frankie sits on a couch. He don't talk to nobody. He won't speak. You go to a job site, he is the life of the party.
Isn't that crazy?
And that's where you want
switch on and off.
That's who you want to be with when he's that guy. You want to be with Frankie at his best moments, Michael at his best moments, my uncle, all these guys at their best moments. They're not at their best moments conversationally.
When they're down, when they're just nothing. When
they need to have something in their hand. They like physical activity. So I'll play whatever they want to do. We used to throw the football. Now it's cornhole. I do that in my act. Sperm counts are down in this country because of cornhole. When you tell a guy, that's my sack, You had the blue sack, I had the red sack. You say sack to me 3 times in one breath? My sperm count's dropping like a rock. That's what I've been talking about. Why do you think Hooters is going out of business? No sperm count no more.
So we're in Lakeland for the state final with the Sarasota team a couple weeks ago. The second, not the original one in Clearwater, but the second Hooters ever is closed in Lakeland now.
Yeah.
Is that so? They're closing nationwide, or
Think about it. Do you go to Hooters anymore?
I don't.
Okay. Do you think my son's going to Hooters? No. These guys don't go to Hooters. First of all, there's been that stigma. Is it stigma?
Stigma.
Or stigmatism? Stigmatism is the eye thing?
That's what I have.
Okay, so
Stigma.
it could be the eye thing too.
I'm going to be honest. It's not worth my time if I don't have my glasses. So, like,
Right. They're blurry. If you're looking at Hooters and they're blurry. So these young kids are not buying Harleys. They're not going to Hooters. They've been told to hold in that masculinity, right? So now you go to Hooters and you don't want to look at the Hooters because you've been told not to because it's wrong, but that's why you're there anyway. And you're like, I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to look at the Hooters, but the glitter that you somehow accidentally got all over your Hooters is making me look at them. That's killing sperm counts too. It's putting them out of business. Right? Cornhole and the fact that maybe we don't know how to count sperm anymore. You know, if sperm counts are low, is it because it's the math? We're bad at math. We're not teaching kids how to count sperm anymore.
Or look at Hooters.
We're teaching kids that sperm doesn't count. That's what we're teaching.
Unbelievable.
And that's kind of the masculinity bit that I have that I now discuss on stage about the old guys and how, you know, a lot of the new old guys are much less masculine than the old guys.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of material there about that. I'm getting tired of doing that material though. I gotta switch it again. Once I start doing it, if I've done that show for 6 months, I'm done.
Yeah.
I gotta figure out what's funny again. What is good to talk about on stage for me
Isn't it,
personally?
Can't you bring back some of the
I don't want to.
stuff like the
Jeff, you don't want to go backwards? To do old material would hurt me more. No one would know, by the way, right? Because it's evergreen material.
Right.
But it's kind of like knowing you're cheating. It's cheating. The purpose of being a comic is
interesting. See, there's a desire out of you to come up with a new stick and get laughter out of that new without having to reach back and get the stuff that you always could get a laugh.
Can't do it. It's cheating.
Don't you worry that the crowd, if they're silent?
If I cared about the crowd, I would be so much farther than I am today.
Yeah.
I've never worried about the crowd. No, what I do is I think, all right, so what's going on now that I think is not even funny, just what's going on? Is there something in my life that I can talk about? So sperm counts is brand new. Relationship with Kelly's always been there, but I always change what I'm talking about.
Right.
You know,
And your heritage.
the Italian stuff I don't do as much unless there's something unique, another unique spin that I could come up with.
So where did a guy like Sebastian Maniscalco, how did he go from here to?
As far as I know, he was at least, I think it was about a 10-year, maybe even longer
10-year
period of him working the Comedy Store in L.A. I'm pretty sure he was
did start out in L.A. He was an East Coast guy.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I don't like to look too much at other comics because it hurts me. When someone says, "Oh, you're just kind of like Sebastian," I go, "No. I've been doing it since '87. I just, have not been exposed. You've never seen me before. Okay? So please stop with I'm Sebastian's uncle or you Sebastian and then the material sometimes crosses over and I'll get a call. You know what Sebastian's doing? I go, well, look, we're both in that same mindset, of being in that culture.
Yeah.
And it's very rare that it's an actual crossover. It's just
we saw him. I think it was
see, this hurts.
right
Bad.
after COVID
This hurts.
at the Ice Palace
Yeah.
in Tampa.
Yeah.
And he eviscerated every culture
Oh yeah.
in this political correct bullshit that we're dealing with. He just right after COVID, like months, not years, like just to, so the honesty, that's why I love comics, man. You can't, like,
I mean,
if we
I will
can't
say
laugh,
something
what's the
about
point?
other
If we
people's
can't
culture
laugh, what's
only
the
if it's
point?
funny, right? You got to make sure the crowd laughs at it. I
you
could
never
say I could
guarantee that.
say something very aggressive and get a laugh and still feel bad.
Give me an example.
Like the other night, the show was sucking, and I said, I'm about as excited to do the rest of the show. I couldn't be even more excited. Even if Hamas had released me last night, I wouldn't have wanted to come to this fucking show. I said, if I was with Hamas last night and they said, you're going to have to do this show tonight, I said, please hang on to me one more night, Hamas, please. Right? And that's been my new line that I've been saying if I ever get into a spot. And I wait for that spot to happen in the show now, where it gets a little dull and I threaten. I like to threaten the crowd, which is not part of comedy.
Somebody's got to have some comedy with this shit that just happened where we leaked our military plans.
That's funny.
To Goldberg.
Right, but I haven't made it funny yet. But yeah, I should. Who did they leak it to?
The editor of
The Wall
Atlantic,
Street? Oh, yeah.
The Atlantic.
Okay.
It's one of the...
Yeah, so now the comedy would be, to make that funny, would be me in the garage now on my red phone, because I do a red phone call, like I'm from the White House or some shit, of us leaking other things. Like what Melania likes to eat at breakfast. Or some type of secret thing about Melania and no one's supposed to know. Like, she's texting her friends and something gets leaked out. Like, that would be funny. Comedy is great. The problem with it is, for me personally, is how much more can I take, Jeff?
Yeah.
How much more can I do? How much more can I give to you people? Where's the appreciation after 37 years? Where's the club owners that I've made so much money for? Where's the birthday card? May 2nd, it's coming up, Taurus.
You've been playing locally at McCurdy's, right?
Yeah. No, it's good. Everything's been good. I've been getting more gigs than I ever have because I've been saying yes. When I went to the corporate route for a long time.
Right.
I'm still doing, I got Midwest Laborers Association coming up, right? That's coming up.
I'm laughing because have you seen his stick where he goes to a construction company and he poses as like one of the new hired employees? He sabotages.
That's what they want. Right? That's how I got the golden hard hat.
I can't wait till he brings me to film it, because there's going to be one day when I'm going to have to sneak in right behind you.
I just did something someone just asked me to be a fake pickleball player, like an expert in pickleball. They were
for like a major pickleball tournament, right?
It was going to be and I gave them my price, and they were like, "What?" I go, "Dude, do you know how hard this is? You want me to sit there all day and pretend that I'm a pickleball player? I'm going to have to really, I can do it. Trust me, and believe me, they will fall. I can do this, but you're going to have to pay me. This is not like a side business where I just do it for a meal and a laugh and a free pickleball.
Right.
I need something more." But I have done that.
The free pickleball.
I've done it multiple times it's enjoyable because, like I told you, I'm a good poser. If you put up 300 on the bench, I can't do it. But if there's a crowd, I can do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to hurt myself. I'm going to do it. I'm going to kill myself. I can't play pool for shit, but if you get mouthy with me in a pool hall and you're like, well, how about 100? I'm going to kill you in pool. I got to pull it out of myself. I don't know how it happens.
I wish in my journey of getting my partners together to buy me out that I had introduced you into the mix and we took you along the way.
We could do something. I don't know if you know, I did it for the fire station here. I posed as the chief fire inspector, the fire chief of L.A. He went so far as I was the fire chief of L.A. Here.
Who were they pranking? Just
each firehouse I went to. My buddy, who I won't name, who is now the chief somewhere in this county, brought me around and I have the plaque in my.
That is so cool.
What happened was, the best thing that happened was they all fell for it that I was the chief of LA, and I didn't know this tradition that they trade each other shirts and they trade whatever merch they got.
Right.
They give to each other. So they were giving me stuff. They really thought I was. I knew they thought I was the chief. So we go to one of the firehouses, and two of the guys were telling me about these girls that came in to they wanted to do like a photo shoot with the trucks in bikinis. And I don't know if the county allows that, or if they don't allow it, whatever, but they're like, yeah, right? So they let these girls in. They're taking pictures, right? No big deal. Well, at the event that this was all culminating, it was a charity event. Eventually, me going around, and then they were going to have a dinner later on where I was going to be at and be awarded something. They exposed me as the comedian. It was, well, you know him as Chief Tony Giuliani from L.A. He's really Carmen Ciricillo, a local comedian from Sarasota. And like all these guys that had entrusted me with their secrets quickly said something to their wife and they told on themselves to their wives about these girls at the firehouse. So after the show, their wives came up to me. Thank you for coming because I was just told, and I'm like, oh my God, you think I wasn't gonna out you guys? I wasn't gonna tell on you that you told me your secret just because I'm a man, man. What the hell was I gonna do? I'm not gonna tell your wife, hey, guess what? Chick in a bikini was laying on a fire truck and your husband was ogling her.
What the big?
But that's how crazy they will tell me stuff or believe it. And that's probably one of the best things that I've had. To be someone who you're not, to be fake is like being an actor. Mm-hmm. But it was a live event.
Yeah, the thing where you've posed, Tracy at Winter Park Construction, and you're like the new senior project manager that's been brought in.
And people hated me. People were walking. They had the Nextel walkie-talkies back in the day. Remember those things?
Oh, yeah.
Calling each other, saying, this guy, we got to get him out. And I was listening because I was with one of the guys that had a walkie-talkie. So we were privy to every private conversation. So I had inside information on everybody.
Who the fuck is this guy?
I knew who hated me, who wanted to beat the shit out of me. The whole time. And I would key in on things that they said.
Back.
And they're like, I would just completely instigate and aggravate as much as I could. And Tracy was loving it, right? The owner, he loved it. He hired me for 4 gigs. 4 different gigs. Peer groups. He was office parties.
He was a visionary, man, in a lot of respects.
Well, the industry,
not only in his business,
I got to say it's the industry too, right? You guys, people, I always love being involved with the construction industry because they know how to have fun.
Yeah.
Always know how to have fun, right? And there's something down there, right? In every anyone who's in the business, there's something. Yeah. Maybe they haven't brought it out in a while.
Yeah, the one thing I learned is you can't. You have to be secure in what you do, and you can't wear your emotions on your sleeves because you get punched in the face if you do.
Don't tell anybody.
If you're the best contractor in the world, and around the corner is something that's going to whack you down. So you got to stay humble. That's the one thing I've learned. You got to stay humble,
or at least pretend to be.
Or at least pretend.
All right, we got to go.
Hey,
Thanks,
brother,
Jeff. I appreciate you coming, man.
Yeah, thanks. That
See you
was
again.
awesome, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for doing that.